Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We are happy you are here. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Well, building robotaxis. Elon Musk is saying Tesla will be doing that on a massive scale by 2024 with a new vehicle design. And other automakers are also looking to be part of that category. Some are working with a company called Uniphy, Uniphy Limited. And their CEO is Jim Nicholas, who's joining us from Bristol in the UK. Good morning or good afternoon, Jim.
Good afternoon, Fred, and nice to meet you, and hello, Alan.
Hello, nice to have you, Jim.
Jim, you're a veteran in the technology industry, having been CEO of MIPS and executive positions at ARM and ST Microelectronics. At Uniphy, you're helping to create how we'll be interacting, if I understand things correctly, with products and vehicles. Give us a little more of an overview.
Thanks very much, Fred. So the basic idea is that we can make plastic or glass surfaces of any shape smart. So if the point of reference is the touch screen on a mobile phone or a tablet, and that's considered to be a flat, smart surface, what we're able to help customers of products do is to actually conform a smart surface to the shape of whatever product they're creating. Now, the amazing thing about this is that it's if you look in your kitchen, your bathroom, your living room, you're interacting with products all the time in a gymnasium or wherever. But very often the constraint is, if you want to have intelligent interaction, other than audio, is how do you actually have a smart surface that forms with the shape of the product? And our technology makes that possible. And there are many companies talking about doing these things, but we believe the reason why we're different is because we provide unparalleled design freedom. So we don't impose restrictions from a technological point of view that limits the styling of the product or how you can embed the smart surface. We can host a rich range of human-machine interface features. We can talk about that at another point. But fundamentally, the underpinnings are just plastics and glass. So on the actual smart surface itself, there doesn't need to be any strange materials, no allotropes of carbon, no metal meshes, nothing, no conductive inks. On that surface, it's just the plastic or glass. So from an automotive point of view, when you look inside a car, you see various examples of decorative trim. You see it on the ceilings, you see it on door panels, central consoles. The same manufacturing process that's used to create those trim with a slight twist can be made smart. And that's the trick that, for example, Hyundai, Grupo Antolin, and various other companies have latched onto. So the disruption cost-wise, together with the design freedom, and also the ability to integrate HMIs, puts us in a fairly unique space.
So, Jim, as I mentioned to you before we started, I saw your announcement and I was intrigued. And that's why we asked you to be on. Thank you for accepting our invite. And I realize how important whatever the things that you do are for our current state of cars and so on and those kinds of things. But I guess if I may, I'd like to take you into a little different realm or a little different challenge, because you've dealing with interiors and information, and I mean the reason you want this is to be a happy camper. Let me put it in very simple terms, I think, right? I mean, it's just, you want to be a happy camper. You may enjoy music, you may enjoy playing video games, you may enjoy, I don't know, picking your nose. I'm being, silly, but whatever it is. But I mean, that's fundamentally what you're trying to do, correct? I mean, right? And that you're striving for, right?
So Alain, that's one part. It is about, enabling this personalized experience. Okay.
Yeah.
Which addresses the happiness. There's another aspect about it, which is, a safe environment.
Sure.
And how that's interpreted depends on whether you're in a vehicle and you're driving it, or you're a vehicle and you're just a passenger. But fundamentally, our technology makes it possible for, just take it from a driver's point of view. I know we're going to talk about robotaxis, but just talk about it from a driver's point of view. If you're in a car and you're looking at the straight ahead, but you want to actually, change a function, and you're not going to do it via audio, but you want to sort of twiddle a knob or whatever. Our technology makes it possible to do all that without looking away from the straight ahead. You can feel your way.
Beautiful. I mean, that's fantastic, because if I stop looking straight ahead, I'm done. Okay. And I think it's more than, I don't particularly, my personal thing, I don't like heads up displays. Why don't I like heads up displays is because I don't want that information in my face all the time. I want it when I want it, at a glance. I don't want it, sitting there. No, thank you. Okay, please get it away. The reason why the speedometer is down here and not up here in normal cars is because anytime I want to look at it, I can look at it, but most of the time I don't. Okay, sorry, but I look at these things from, of course I look at them from my point of view, because I have no other point of view. Sorry, world, but I have no other point of view. And I think what you're doing is absolutely, I mean, to me, it's fantastic. But for my purposes, if I may, Jim, sorry, I'm really interested in being in the robotaxi, autonomous taxis, as we call it, is providing mobility for people, and mobility for people who maybe can't drive. First of all, I mean, we have to deal with them, absolutely. And for those who don't want to drive, I'm getting to be one of them, and except for, when I'm doing donuts on my neighbor's lawn, I love tearing up their lawn, but, but I want to make sure, or what I would love, since we're just designing them, and now we're going to have Elon doing it. I mean, my goodness, if he gets into this business, it's going to happen. Okay, and he should reach out to you to say, how do we make the interiors of these things so it is really pleasant for me? And me being whoever happens to be in there, because the me's are different. We're all different, right? I mean, we're not. And what you, at least what I got out of your announcement, it seems that you're talking about doing this, not, hey, here's one and we're done and everybody take this, but it'd be flexible and so on, so that somehow it responds to the individual and the individual's desires, and all those things are all part, which are enormously important, right? I mean, if we're really going to have diversity and talk about any of this stuff, we have to make it for different entities, at least 2, 3, maybe a whole distribution, right? Of course. But, and sort of the other challenge that we face in this is that especially on the diversity, on the distribution end of these things, is it's, for some people it's very different than for other people. And if it's going to be the same robo-taxi that takes you, that takes Fred, that takes me, it should respond differently to what you would like, I would like, Fred would like, if we can do it.
Yeah.
We got, and if we can do this, we should try doing it at the beginning, not after we have it, because then we have to retrofit. We know how much trouble it is to retrofit anything, and so to bring this in from the beginning, that's kind of why I was so excited about having you on. Get you, how does Elon, if he's really going to do this, or the folks that are out there doing it that are still at the very beginning, all they've done is test the technology as to whether or not it can stay on a road and not hit somebody. They've not yet talked about what is it for the passenger inside.
Yeah.
It's we maybe should have done this. I use the elevator analogy all the time. Maybe we should have done this with elevators, because elevators just move us up and down, unfortunately not horizontally and so on. I mean, it's really what we're trying to do horizontally, and we haven't done much with the interior of elevators. I mean, we probably should have done a lot. I mean, you go in some elevators in New York City today. I mean, it's like we're going to Mars, which is great, but most of them leave a little bit to be desired. But if we're going to not talk about being encapsulated in a vehicle that has taken us places, I mean, you look at the experience we have in an airplane, even before we had to wear masks. Where now we don't even know whether or not who knows. But I mean, it's a terrible experience. I mean, you have maybe a little screen, or maybe now you can bring your own. Or now maybe, trains not like that. Buses are like, are you kidding me? How do you take what's in your brain, what you've been thinking about, what you've been worrying about, what from a driver environment? And I like to see you think about, what do you do from just a rider environment? What opportunities does that give you? What challenges does that give you?
Yeah,
talk to me.
So let's start by perhaps let's consider how we are as human beings. If you just think about it in terms of the 5 major senses that we use to engage with the world, and our senses aren't digital; they're analog. But they've got a massive dynamic range. Our sense of smell, taste, touch, everything.
Yeah.
And actually, if you take something like the touchscreen technologies that we use on a mobile phone, it isn't that. It isn't that sensitive, which means that if you're interacting with that surface, it really doesn't know how to distinguish between you or anyone else, unless as part of that surface, you've got a fingerprint sensor. Yeah. Now, the thing about our technology is that it actually uses a different approach, which means that, just take one example, which is pressure. It has a massive dynamic range. It can interpret the difference between the touch of a feather or a very, very hard press and anything in between. I mean, you try to do that with a capacitive touch a display, you won't see that. Now, I'm talking about this because then let's take the next step. The moment you're able to have that finesse in terms of understanding how someone's touching or understanding the gestures that person's making, you now have the opportunity to, if you like, characterize that person's interaction and behavior. And if you like, personalize whatever UX's result from that. You can't do that with conventional technologies the way they are today. But our technology would open that door, because it's about this concept of, if you want to have, if you like, if you want to traverse the digital paradigm, what you need to do is you need to find a way of having, I think, a more accurate human body model. Okay, you need to, which means that when a person is in a vehicle as a passenger, there needs to be ways of identifying the characteristics of that person. You can't eliminate touch, because that's a physical aspect of being a person, to be in a vehicle, to sit there, to touch things. But you can turn that on its head. And you've got the right technology. you can actually use that as part of saying, no, that's Alain, or that's Fred. And I know what these guys are like, because, because what you'll find is that you'll probably have, we have it today, but in the future, you'll have your own profile. You'll have
it will know. It will know. I mean, of course, they already know, I think, almost. Yes. I mean, it bugs me, but they already, yeah.
So you're talking about beyond the cameras that might be in these systems, or if you're using a mobile device to order up the robotaxi, et cetera.
I'm saying that I'm saying that you really do have to think, if a digital system is going to interpret a person, I think it has to do what we do interpreting the world. We engage multiple senses. And what I'm saying is not a big leap. So the camera is important, and any other sensing technology is important. But what I'm actually saying is, I don't think the touch part of these technologies are where they should be. I think that up until the arrival of what we're offering, they're just too crude. They're not sensitive enough. And so they don't hold up their own in terms of helping to have this accurate definition of a person, but then allows you to personalize the experience that person is subject to. And that's going to become, I mean, what you want to have is in a robotaxi, I mean, at the risk of, you probably want to end up in a place where that person getting into that car just wants to stay in there. I mean, of course you want them to get from A to B, but there's this aspect about the person needs to feel comfortable, needs to feel safe, needs to feel, as you said, Alain, happy. But you
absolutely
need to describe them, yeah?
No, fundamentally, I mean, if it's not going to work. If you're afraid to get in an elevator, you're not going to climb the steps, therefore you're not going to go up there. I mean, you're not going to do it. And it's kind of a shame. And then, I'm involved with we're going to do a conference in a couple of weeks with respect to accessibility to folks that have all accessibility issues, like, hey, sight. Okay, now, if I have some sight problems, first of all, I can't drive. I mean, although you can't, right? So, but I'm taking one of these things. But maybe what I want to do is boy, I think that luckily I can see, and I don't know what people that are visually challenged with, but I bet their touch sensitive as hell. Okay. I bet they get, right, because they braille or whatever. I mean, how do you figure all that stuff out? Oh my goodness. Now, if what you provide in there that gives them an opportunity to interact, an opportunity to feel safe, an opportunity to feel comfortable, an opportunity to be a happy camper. I mean, which is really what you're trying to do. I mean, we should be at least thinking about these things from the get-go. Okay, and that's why I guess that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, is to see how to get you involved in this thing, so that we kind of do this thing right. Because if we really, I mean, if you're going to have massive scale, I mean, sure, I'll go in there and sip my champagne as I go down the New Jersey Turnpike. Great, fat, wonderful, whatever. But there are a lot of folks who really will need it to get to grandma's house. I don't know, you name it, shoot hoops across town, whatever it happens to be, and the interaction and the ability. Or maybe the person's frustrated, or maybe they're angry, or maybe they want to trash it, or I don't know what, the range of human emotion we have. Sometimes I'm there myself a little bit. I don't want to admit it, but and so to think about the interior, to think about how the person's going to interact with that interior, because it's really important in the things that, I mean, I don't know. Keep going.
Let's get your point of view, Jim. When you think about robotaxis and the role that your company can play, that you can play, tell us what comes to mind, and as specifically as you can. What do you think your company is going to bring into these vehicles?
I would say from a first order point of view, to, if you like, move away from a simplistic notion that in order to have intelligent interaction between a passenger and the interior of the vehicle, there needs to be a display. Okay, if you see a lot of what's going on in automotive, there's a huge push about displays everywhere. But that would be rather like imagining your living room being like a goldfish bowl. You're inside it. I mean, I don't think that's a lot of good at all. But just imagine that you're in a vehicle and you can have, comfortable furnishings and any other, appliances within that vehicle, and that you didn't need to, go and grab your mobile phone or go to a display panel to do something to control that. You just touch it and off you go, and it's gorgeous as well. I mean, it's incredibly beautiful. It's great to touch, looks really beautiful, and it's even smart. And what I'm envisaging is not, I don't profess it to be novel, but what I'm saying is that it's not all about, large planar displays or displays of certain curvatures. It's from an industrial designer point of view, they've got the opportunity to create something amazing. And from a passenger point of view, they can just have an extraordinary experience. And by the way, get this right, and then you've got a huge opportunity for differentiation, because then what happens is it's not just one robotaxi. Yeah, people have their pet favorites, which will be based on, whatever the vision or the dream of the provider is. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but I guess you must have done, the innovations that go on in hotels now. I mean, there's a huge range of diversity of the interiors of hotels. And I think that the interior is really going to be the place where most of the disruption has to take place in order to provide the differentiation. And so it's got to be a combination of, user experience, aesthetics, that feeling of being safe, being at home. Those things have to come together. And when I think about what we propose, there is the fact that I've spoken about our technology, being much more sensitive in terms of the touch-related interactions. But the other part about it is that it's a platform. In other words, you can actually use it to combine different human machine interface experiences. So if, for example, it can easily integrate haptics very, very easily. You can decide to have displays or not displays if you want to. You can have integrated into it, the old Minority Report, arm waving stuff. All that stuff can be seamlessly integrated in these technologies. And the critical thing to understand about personalizing something, of a generation, someone can complain about having loads of displays everywhere. But there are other generations that think it's great. The point is to provide an interior that allows the possibility to have, if you like, a different aesthetics and a different interaction as a function of the person going in. And I think that our technology can help as part of that, in enabling that reality. In other words, the other thing that our technology does is that because we're using plastics and glass, it's very easy for us to, pass lights or patterns through the material. Yeah. So we can just change the ambiance of an environment with our smart surface very, very easily. I mean, we've had an interesting discussion with an appliance company recently, and they've got these interesting light pipes that they're trying to use to sort of, provide a certain bit of decoration. And they confirmed that our technology just makes it easy. It's just a byproduct of our architecture. But sorry.
Yeah, no, keep going. I thought you were finished. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
but looking at it from you know, the point of view of a passenger, I think, you know, everyone's got, you know, the things that they like in terms of colors, styling, and what you actually want, and the way they want to interact with stuff. So what you actually want is the possibility to go into a space, you know, a mobility space, and to know that the things that you love, right, are what's kind of being reflected back to you. How you interact, how you want to interact ideally, right, is actually hosted by that. And I actually think technologically, all of that is possible. What you must stop doing is trying to force people to accept what is an outdated paradigm. So my problem is that I think there's a place for the technologies associated with smartphones. I just don't think that by themselves, they're going to get us where we need to get to. But I think with a little bit of tweaking, using technologies like ours and other companies, I think you can get closer to it. I'm also not professing that we have all the answers, but I do think we are part of that new wave. And the other part I think that will be appealing for people is that because it's just plastics and glass, you know, in terms of decommissioning, and environmental impact, it's just minimal. It's just, you know, because we don't have any, you know, heavy metals or anything. There's, you know, and the other thing I didn't talk about is because of the way our technology works, we don't have the EMC issues that other technologies have. So so you can have a proliferation of smart surfaces in your vehicle, and it's not going to be a danger, you know, that engineers are going to have to circumvent in some way, adding to costs and what have you. I think that the initiative that you're driving is really, really critical. It could make the fundamental difference between as to when and to what extent robotaxis take off. Because if you don't get the interior right, it's going to be a problem in terms of adoption.
Well, you know, I guess again, you're just confirming why I so much wanted to have you on here and talk with you about this. You know, the fundamental things that you say is that what you have makes things easy to do, which is critically important. There are a lot of things we can do, they're really hard, and you know, some of us beat our heads into the wall trying to make them happen. But you know, if it's this way or that way, and it's essentially, you know, just as easy, my goodness. And the really important thing is what you point out is that this can make it responsive to the individual, and that to me is just so fundamentally important. If we can do that from the beginning, you know, why should we all be put into some box that is some nominal that everybody, you know, finally, you know, that's how many more yays were on that side than nays, and we're going to go with that one, or take the mean or the median or all these, you know, narrow statistical measures to then say, hey, you know, whatever we're going to do, and to make it responsive and good to a broader range. Now, maybe we can't hit everybody. Okay. All right. Okay. Of course. I mean, you know, that's tough, but at least, you know, let's do 2 or 3 or 4, you know, let's do more than one, which is what you're telling us, which I think is so fundamentally valuable. And especially here in the beginning where we're trying to just design it. I mean, you know, this week at earnings, you know, Elon says, hey, yeah, I'm doing the interior. No pedals, no, great, Elon, you know, go for it. But my goodness, when you go for it, talk to Jim or somebody or whatever. I'm sure he has people must be thinking somewhat like you also. I mean, he has enormously good people working with him. It does take a village to do all these things, okay? But to think about that and to take that approach to this thing. Because if we're looking at providing mobility, it's one thing if I'm going to go out and buy a car for me, or an entity for me. I'm going to go look at the marketplace that's going to offer a whole distribution, and I'm going to pick the one that, of course, I mean, that's what I do. That's what we each of us does. But this thing, you know, it's a product that's out there for everybody, to be used by everybody, to be shared. I mean, that's the beauty of it. Not only shared, you know, you use it sometime, I use it sometime, Fred uses it sometime. We might even use it together. Oh my goodness. I mean, but that's what happens in an elevator. Yes. Sometimes we go alone, other times you jump in with me, right? You know, and I say, but then I say, hey, come on, you know, but, you know, and so, you know, that's, to me, that's a different design process. I would like to be able to, why shouldn't the interior change so that it's what you like? I wouldn't like that. So what I like. And of course, Fred said, none of you guys, it's what I, you know, and it just does it, or it does it to some extent or whatever, right? I think that's what you've been saying, that it is kind of motivating. And I think it's really important that we think about and take advantage of these opportunities, because compared to, you know, we spent 330 billion so far in this damn technology in the last 15 years. And there's barely any, there's no societal value that's been delivered yet. You know, we're testing still to, you know, make sure it doesn't hit a kid chasing the ball. Okay. We've yet to say, hey, you know, Jim, get in there and enjoy a ride. You know, you needed to go to the doctors, it's going to take you. You wanted to visit a friend. You wanted to go get you know, whatever you wanted to do. Not a big deal. I mean,
and what you're talking about too is, Alan, providing that to people who don't have the alternatives that you have, that Jim has.
Well, yeah, no, of course I want to do that too, but you know, I want to do it for everybody. Yeah. Hey, if it does it for me, of course you do it for them. I mean, come on. I mean, that's it shouldn't even be a question.
Jim, you're working with a couple of companies, recent announcements, and one of them, at least, Hyundai, has said it's in the robotaxi business, or getting into it with Motional, I think. So tell us what you can about how these new partnerships. I think the other company you're working with is it pronounced Grupo and Antolin, or I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Yeah. No, well done, Fred. Yeah, it's Grupo Antolin. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So tell us about these partnerships that you have and how this might, you know, evolve into this scenario that we're talking about.
Yeah. So in the case of Hyundai, they approached us in 2019, to be fair. So this is the laziest example of business development work I've ever done, really. I'm sort of like 4 months in as the first CEO of Uniphy, and someone who's part of the technology scouts organization got in touch with me. We met up. I went to visit them. So I think, to cut a long story short, what attracted them about us and has been persisted in being proven was the unparalleled design freedom, offering to anyone, you know, creating interiors, the possibility of having or hosting a rich range of HMI features. And then the third thing was the cost disruption. Fundamentally, the fact that it was just plastics and glass. And so what's actually happened now is that we're doing some developments together. We're going to showcase both internally and most likely to the world some of the developments we're going to do within the next couple of years. Without making any promises, you know, we could end up, you know, being used extensively, you know, within that company. And we've actually got very strong advocates within the company who really want to disrupt. I mean, I would never, ever bet against Hyundai. They are unbelievable. unbelievable. I mean, whatever you think they are at the moment, the stuff that they're doing is just incredible, really incredible. And they move really quickly. And I think the thing that really helps them is that they're incredibly humble as a company. I mean, you know, they have no ego, but they've got massive ambitions. So we're really chuffed that there's a tiny little startup we're with them. And with Grupo Antolin, the thing is that they're sort of a leading automotive tier one. So they're kind of up there with, you know, the likes of, you know, Bosch, Continental, Denso. Their specialization is on, you know, decorative trim. For example, they have leadership positions for the ceilings in cars and door panels. But what we're going to work with them on is making decorative trim decorative and functional. And we've already done work together to confirm that this is not just a fantasy. And so our intention is to engage with automotive OEMs together and basically, you know, proliferate throughout the automotive industry, decorative trims that are going to be, you know, really aesthetic and incredibly functional. And that will also then play into the dream that you both have been talking to, because I think that if you don't know a lot about Grupo Antolin, you should try to resurrect some of the stuff that they've done in I think it was the 2021 CES, if not 2022. I mean, some of the interiors that they were presenting, showing, were just incredible. And by the way, that story's a different one. So I approached them because one of my investors was looking around and he basically said, Jim, I think this is an amazing company. Why don't you get in touch with them? And I contacted them. And within a month, they got back. We presented, we demoed, and they just thought we were incredible. And we think they're incredible. Actually, the issue I want to say at the moment is that, so we're fundraising at the moment. We're raising about $10 million. And the issue is that we just need to grow the organization because the opportunities are just phenomenal. I didn't mention this either, but we're also well placed to address other verticals such as appliances, smart consumer. So wherever there's a requirement or could be a requirement for a human machine interface, our technology rocks. It really does. And so we've got loads of other customers and we'll be making many other announcements in due course. But at the moment, just to give you the perspective, we're only 12 people. and when we sort of got those deals going, we were only 8-9 people. So we're just a little company, but honestly, I think we can do some amazing stuff. And we've got this balance between having some amazingly brilliant young people and people my age, sort of thing, and that all works.
You're a young guy, man. I mean, look at Fred.
My beard's getting longer. All right. We'll be back, but this is a good time to remind you about our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, look for a white paper. It's called The Smart Transportation Revolution. You'll find it under the Insights and News tab. Lots of great information there to help you make informed decisions about investing. ETFs, as you probably know, can be a good way to spread risk with investments and focus on a particular category of stocks. The website again is motoetf.com. We're back with more of Smart Driving Cars and our guest, Jim Nicholas of Uniphy, UNIPHY. Some other headlines to get to, Alain. Tesla this week reported first quarter earnings. You alluded to it, I think, reporting $18.7 billion in revenue, earnings of $3.22 a share, both well above what analysts expected. There seemed to have been some pessimism a few days before they came out with it, and then what do? Another rocket goes off.
I don't know. I mean, poor guys being attacked all over the place. They have ads in LA, some guys spending money on TV to attack them. I mean, I don't know. Everybody knows I'm a fan. Yes, of course he's not perfect. And of course he's overpromised and so on. I mean, who's delivered anything? I mean, it's like, what did he do? He sent a bunch of guys back up to the International Space Station. He put another, who knows how many satellites in orbit. The darn thing came back again. What, 12th landing for the recovery of the same launch vehicle? Are you joking? I mean, NASA hasn't even done it once yet. He's done it 125. I mean, he's embarrassing everybody, and that's why they take out everybody. Of course, I'm jealous. How could you not be?
And of course, he talked about the robotaxis once again.
And then
he
starts on his robot. I don't believe him about his little humanoid. I thought he was joking on that one.
We thought so, but he says it's going to be a bigger.
He said it again.
Okay,
so I mean, it's Elon. You got to, everybody knows that you have to put a filter on it. And, take that whatever. But he jokes around with us. But yeah, I mean, what do you? I mean, you got to take your hat off. I mean, you do. I mean, you have to have some respect. I have little respect usually, but yeah.
Our friend Russ Mitchell at the LA Times, meanwhile, had an analysis piece pertaining to Musk's efforts to buy Twitter. It was headlined "Free Speech Absolutist" in quotes. Elon Musk has a long history of opposing speech and transparency. I mean, it's true. He does not have a public relations department at Tesla. Got rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, of course, Russ and I and a bunch of others have been, of course, clamoring that he should be more forthright with his data on his cars, so that somebody could do an independent analysis of the safety and basically vet it or peer review it, or get another perspective, whatever you want to call it. And for years, I've been offering that, hey, I'll do it for free. I'd love to do it. And as a Russ put in the article, yeah, sure. I think it's to his advantage. Why not? I think it'd be hard to believe that those cars aren't safer than cars without that stuff on it. Just would be hard. I mean, there people abuse things, of course, and people game things, and people put themselves between a rock and a hard place, and so on and things. But that's a tail of a distribution. That's only a few people out here. The bulk of the distribution probably saves them. Those that respect it, those that don't play with it, those that aren't goofballs. Okay, that's most of the people. And so I think as he claims, when he does the analysis, or his folks do the analysis, and on par, his cars are safer. Now, it'd be hard for them not to be safer, but why doesn't he let somebody, me, you, I don't care, go in there and really do a peer review on a darn thing? I'm an academic. I guess I like peer reviews.
Jim, feel free to jump in any point you want, but
yeah, jump in.
You don't want to.
It's okay. Listen, I think that I go back to the comment that you made, Alan. I mean, he's worthy of incredible respect, and from my point of view, when I look at the possibilities that we have to realize, it would be far more difficult to see headway without the advances that Tesla had made. I mean, our technology is a slam dunk for EVs, and that guy's aced making that a reality. So I'm a happy camper in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could argue that he hasn't fundamentally changed the course of the automotive industry within a very short time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. They're all chasing them. Even if you actually go look at whether or not EVs are really any good for the environment, it is really tough to say, holy mackerel. It is ugly. If you actually look at it, everybody's chasing it because and that's to me, what's beautiful about the Tesla and what's sort of the fundamentals, you have half as many parts. If you have half as many parts to do something, guess what? You probably have an advantage. I don't know. Just think if you're out, I don't know if you love soccer, if you have a guy that's twice as fast as everybody else, guess what?
Yeah.
Are you going to win? Cut it out. Okay. These are fundamentals. These aren't nuances. These aren't, 18th order term and the limit, they all go to zero. Cut it out. So, but anyway, that's another thing. Of course, what are we selling? We're really trying to provide mobility for everybody. So, people who can afford it and people who can't, and do it affordably and do it, so that, everybody enjoys the great flexibility and freedom that we all have, those of us that can afford all these things, and do that. And, that's what we're trying to do anyway, whatever, fighting that battle.
Meanwhile, Alan, at CoMotion Miami, I think was the name of the conference,
Yeah.
our friend Jerry He from CARTS being quoted prominently.
Yeah,
Good to
I
see
guess
that.
so. Well, I think he has the best message, of course. I think he has the best message, and that's a very slick operation. Not like the summit we're trying to put together, cobbled there with, who knows what. But yeah, no, I think it went very well. People are paying attention. Certainly, they're paying attention in Florida. Senator Barnes was part of it, and so on, and things are moving. We're moving the needle.
And you mentioned this other conference coming up on accessibility, and you're going to be a part of that. That's in Maryland.
Yeah, unfortunately, that thing they decided to do it to not do it live, which is, I guess, because these are folks that really do accessibility testing, and mostly accessibility testing for physically challenged individuals and mentally challenged individuals. And so, it's tough for them to travel in normal times. Can you imagine how tough it is for them to travel, at least some of them, in these COVID times? It's like whatever. So we're going to do it remotely, but again, the accessibility is there, and sort of my message to the group is, they've been focusing is just getting in and out of vehicles. Accessibility, of course, wheelchairs and so on, ADA type things and whatever. That's a big deal, especially with sort of, I guess, again, the way we're approaching the thing is that we don't think these things can go directly up to your kitchen door and take you exactly to where you want to go. There's an accessibility issue to get to a vehicle, just like in an elevator that doesn't sit there. Again, the elevator analogy, sorry folks, but doesn't sit there at the front door, somewhere else. You go in the building, you go in the front door, and then you have to go to the elevator. And when it gets you to a floor, sometimes in some of these hotels, as you have a bus running from the elevator. My room is so far away, I think I have to take a bus from when I get off the elevator to get my room. But you have to go. That's where we are. To change that would be just, then you have no opportunity for ride sharing. You have no opportunity for, whatever. It gets ugly. So the accessibility is getting to the vehicle, not just in the vehicle, and getting from the vehicle. And then you have to, if you can make that just nice and perfect and whatever, there's no problem. But in some places, it's not necessary. So you need to sort of improve the things around it. And, we've used this concept of kiosks would be in a place where people I'm thinking, talking to Jim, what about if I have a kiosk, which is a place where I interact with the vehicle, then there should be surfaces there. There should be my opportunity to interact there. That should be certainly a welcoming place, a place where I'm a happy camper and safe and all the other things. Well, hell, we can put cameras and everything else around there, and somebody kind of, oh no, you don't. I mean, we can do all, but that, and again, it's the beginning, and to have the kind of Jim's design thoughts on that, looking to, again, individual needs, individual desires, focusing on them, trying to deliver on that to an individual, rather than trying to force this the square peg into a round hole. We got to get away from that kind of stuff. Let's make a square hole. Let's make a little hole. Let's make whatever the thing looks like hole. So all the cliches,
Alan,
Jim.
All of this is going to be the focus of the Smart Driving Cars Summit.
We hope so. I don't know if we can cover them all, but we're gonna try.
And what Jim should know, and our audience should know, is there's been great progress in trying to make all of this happen in New Jersey, specifically in the city of Trenton. There's been Alan's been a part of it. The state, the governor,
everybody's lined up.
And
everybody's lined up for all the right reason, and we have the opportunity at least have people get around and discuss it. We're still at the beginning, even after 330 billion. Okay, so maybe some of those investors need to take a look at it. There's been so much invested in the technology of this thing, Jim. There's been extremely little invested in the sociology.
Yes.
And I think that's really, you're dealing with technology, but you're dealing with technology's interaction with sociology. You're trying to, it's.
So to be very clear, if you like, that's been deliberate on my part. I had made a decision in 2018 that I was going to cease focusing on technology from, if you like, a foundational enablement point of view. I wanted to focus much more on user experience, much more. So it's more about harnessing technologies to bring about an outstanding experience for people. And I actually think that there's sufficient maturity in many technologies that could make that possible. I really do.
And a lot of that in the past, has been focused on the rich guy and whatever, and focusing on them and making it chic and whatever, and what to do and all that stuff. And but I think the idea is to try to make everybody a happy camper, not just the one that wants a Vishuku and whatever to do, and sure, them too, because they'll pay for the damn thing, because somebody has to pay for this. But whatever. I don't know. Jim, it's been really great, Fred. We're not going to talk about it anymore, right, Fred?
I guess we're wrapping up.
We're wrapping that. Well, I don't know. There's not all that much news out there. It's time for us to do something, right?
And that's what the focus is of the summit. For more info on that, you can go to cartsmobility.com. Jim Nicholas from Uniphy, we want to thank you for taking the time with us, and congratulations on the innovations there and all you're trying to do.
Thank you very much, Jim. We were expecting and hoping that it would be like this. I think it was. It was great discussion with you today. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you to our sponsor, the Smart ETFs, Smart Transportation and Technology ETF. The ticker symbol for the ETF is MOTO, and more info is available at motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 corporation. You can find us at smartdrivingcar.com, on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Spreaker, wherever you get podcasts from. Ask your smart speaker to play us too. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching, and please continue to stay safe.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Jim. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.